How's it going, everyone? And welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VGWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, are still.
Venerian.
And Willisell and Ari is clearly lacking some gunpowder today.
As am I.
If you would like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server, and you can get there by clicking on the link, which will be in the description underneath the YouTube video archive of this show. And there you can communicate with the other listeners to the show and see all of the spiciest of memes that Ari posts there, most of which won't get us arrested.
Most of them.
Maybe.
For most people.
Maybe.
There's a cooldown time if they don't accept your invite?
Yeah, I'm currently being mauled by Hella Chills, so...
Oh, that's a thing. So, on the stream today, I'm completely lacking in any sort of imagination or motivation today, so I'm just going to play a bit of House Flipper and maybe make a house look nice. Alternatively, I could just paint all the walls fluoro pink and make people's eyes bleed. I don't know.
Yeah, let's go with that option. I like that one.
Go with the eye bleeding?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Alright, we can do that. Make some sort of Technicolor nightmare monstrosity house. Alright, I guess we'll dive straight into the weeks. So, yeah, I'm lacking energy because last night was the final night of the Drunk Cowboy invasion for the year. Until someone decides to pull another random rodeo out of their ass, not tell anyone that they're actually doing so, and invite random drunk cowboys again. Not salty. Totally salty.
Yeah.
Is there not some kind of rodeo cap bylaw or something?
There really
like you
needs
may
to
only
be.
have this many rodeos in the span of time.
Yes. If you bring over a certain amount of drunk cowboys into the town, we reserve the right to shoot.
But it stimulates the local economy.
You know what else does?
Oh.
Literally any other event. So yeah, that's a problem with our big event coordinators around here, is they only seem to just stick on rodeo and rodeo adjacent events. And that's it. So, I hope you like bull riding. So yeah, that's why I'm lacking energy, is, 12-ish hours shift without break, driving drunk cowboys around. Anywho, for week media this week, I caved when I saw the Caves of Kood on sale.
I thought you were going to say World of Warcraft.
No, I'm not. I have some standards. Not many, but some. After Seth's video, because, this is a weird-looking game. So, I jumped into it, and my first attempt was, spin up a random character and go to the recommended starting town. So, that was fine. I kind of started to figure out how the controls work. Got a quest to go out of town, and got immediately murdered to death by baboons. So that didn't work. Second attempt is I decided I was going to double down on tanky abilities just so I could learn the game. So I built a character, managed to get a bit of gear, wandered out of town, and immediately got murdered by baboons. This might be a bit of a running theme because my third character I decided to go a ranged character and try to learn the game. And I actually managed to survive a little while. I got to level 5. Then got torn apart by baboons. So
you need to stay away from the baboons, man. There's only one way the story is going to end.
It's like once those baboons spot you, that's it. They're just going to wreck your day. No, I don't like this house. I'm going to get a different house. So yeah, it's an interesting game. There's so many different options. But yeah, it is a roguelike in the very literal sense of the word. So the controls are an absolute nightmare. It uses the arrow keys for crying out loud, or the numpad arrow keys. You actually need to go into the menu to find mouse controls.
Alright, C.
So, yeah. But that said, I think once you can learn the game, there's a lot to really find in it. Like you can, it's one of the few games. I mean, you can start off where you're a four-armed, four-legged, beaked psychic monstrosity, and you can start the game like that.
So you're playing Spore.
Essentially, except edgier and actually good.
I see. I did not watch Seth's video, so I have no idea what this game looks like.
I did watch this video and I am no wiser.
Yeah, it's one of those things you've got to just kind of to dive into. Alright, I'm going to sell this house to totally not Donald Trump. And I'm going to see if I can get more money out of him.
Oh, I got a thing. I got an orange thing.
Oh, okay. No, he didn't like that. Right. What else did I do? I guess I could talk a little bit about what our D&D adventures, because that ended up being fun. I think maybe a request from aspiring GMs out there. Don't use necrotic damage. Please. So,
I forget what that does. I haven't used it in forever.
Isn't that just the opposite of healing?
Kind of. Necrotic damage, particularly if it comes on vampires and things like that, it detracts from your maximum hit points rather than your actual current hit points.
All right. That's fun.
And once that hits 0, you dead. You dead.
So
yeah.
You got necrotized.
Yeah. So my character got deaded.
So they're inverted temporary hit points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thankfully, there was an NPC, a rather powerful NPC, actually, who decided that we're going to keep my character alive. Because the DM kind of felt bad for it because I got crit 2 rounds in a row. Oh, not 2 rounds in a row, 2 attacks in a row. So my character went from 80% health to 0 before I could do anything. So that was fun. But currently we're still doing the big Uber dungeon that the GM set out for us. That fight involved something like 2 vampires, a whole bunch of thralls, a couple of iron golems, and just for some flavor, a couple of gargoyles hiding in the corner. Each round takes half an hour to get through.
Yeah.
So, good times.
Small, infrequent combat encounters.
Yeah, he says it's the biggest encounter he's ever designed, and he doesn't use it very often for exactly that reason.
Do you care if I munch your...
Everybody is just bored of it by the end?
Yeah, when you're just sitting around for half an hour while everybody else kind of ticks through the turn order and then all the various creatures do theirs, and yeah, it gets a bit meh.
Are you stealing my lamp grass?
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you even care if I munch your lamp grass?
You
But
can put your lamp grass. I don't play this game enough for it to matter if you steal my lamp grass or not.
So yeah, that's been fun. As far as other games go, that's been about it. Thankfully, we've finally got a new employee actually up and running, so I might actually get something approaching free time at some point.
Oh, you done gonna said it now, man.
Yeah, you said it now. You're the reliable one. When something really bad happens, guess who's getting the phone call?
Yeah, I mean, I do anyway.
Welcome to the work world of being the responsible guy at a job where nobody else is responsible.
Yay! So really, I'm going to probably leave my week at that, because I don't have a whole lot to talk about beyond that. What else? I'm just trying to think of anything else I've really touched on, but anime-wise, I just sat down and watched the rest of Slime Time. And that continues to be wholesome and fun. Although, I had kind of forgotten about the sumo episode.
Why would you rewatch the sumo episode?
Because it is one of the strangest bit of anime that's ever been put together.
I don't know if I'd quite go that far.
Well, okay, fair call. But, it's a fun episode. It starts off innocent enough, and then it goes to some really, really worrying places. And And this
I
is
did
why.
not remember that episode even existed until you mentioned it.
Yeah, see?
It's not part of the original story. It's was written specifically for the anime.
Yeah. And there's a few episodes like that where it's just anime specific, and there's that one. There's one where they end up going to there's a beach episode. Let's just call it that, which gets silly very, very quickly. And there's also, I think it's also an anime original where there's a side story of Rimuru's students going off and kind of doing this trial where they need to cross country and escort a teacher.
It's still not finished yet, is
It's
it?
not. It's supposed to be a trilogy, and it's like 2 episodes, and they've stopped. Just why? Why you do this to us?
They want you should suffer.
I think they do. Yeah, let's go in a nice, tiny little house. We'll go with that. Other anime, not a whole lot really. Like, there's not too much to talk about because there's not a whole lot to watch. Not unless I want to decide to just dig into slice of life anime or something, which I really don't want to do.
Yeah,
You
I've
can
watched a few this season, but there's just absolutely nothing remarkable. There are still some that I haven't tried yet that look like they might be okay, but the best you can get out of this season is barely watchable dreck for the most part.
Yeah, like, there's a couple of interesting things in there as well, but you got to dig for them. So yeah, I'm going to probably just leave my week at that because I got nothing. Paul,
Right.
how much nothing did you do?
Not a lot of things and a lot of nothings. It's just busy all the time for me.
Can we
But
just not adult anymore, please?
most of my time, ultimately, as far as gaming was concerned, ended up getting digested by the Only Land event in FGO, because I managed to completely and entirely miss the whole raid phase of the event because it was over so quickly. And I say it was over so quickly, but it was over so quickly by my scheduling requirements. There were people who were saying that they were surprised how long it took to finish. But that's because their expectations have been distorted by the fact that oftentimes something that's meant to last for maybe 4 days will take about 4 hours to complete because of the fixed number of kills that are available on the server. But yeah, in the end, that ended up taking a lot of time because I had to grind everything the most inefficient way. And I did get there in the end. I've gotten all of the gold foos. I got all the laws. I finished the rather simple challenge quest, mercifully simple challenge quest, and was able to put that one down because, frankly, I'm getting a bit worn down by some of these, and the 2 million points ladder part of the event did not help. That's always a trial to keep going through those. But I pulled Shitonai from the banner, which is what I was going for, and I pulled it with only spending tickets. So I'm out of tickets, but I've managed to hoard all my quartz, which is being saved for Benny Enma and New Year's. And oddly enough, for once, Shitonai was actually a really good fit for a lot of the battles and challenges in this particular event. What often seems to happen, whether probably unintentionally, is that the headliner characters, as far as the story is concerned, are really terrible for actually doing the event in a lot of cases. And this is especially prevalent in things like interludes and strengthening quests, where the character in question that is having the interlude or being strengthened is almost invariably terrible for that particular battle. But that was not the case, and Shitonai was very good fit for a lot of things. She's not particularly impressive along any particular axis, being an art single target NP alter ego, but she's got a personal 30% NP battery, which is valuable, and quite flexible for general use against cavalry classes, particularly mixed cavalry class nodes, which have more than one heavy. So I've gotten quite a bit of use out of her already. But that was I mainly rolled on her because she's Ilya. That's
And you're going to jail.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I don't obviously I don't have her switched to that Ascension art. But yeah. Anybody finds out I'm going to jail. Canonically, she's like 19, damn it.
Of course.
But yeah, so ultimately though that event was more about it was more about giving Shutin the opportunity to be dressed incredibly salaciously, even though she was covering more skin than usual.
Which says a lot, really.
Yeah, it was, she really did steal the show a lot of the time. It was really the Shutin and Ibaraki show where Ibaraki is just trying to be a villainous Oni, but just being a starry-eyed child most of the time. Despite her best efforts and protestations to the contrary, she is in fact just like all the other child servants, and not in fact very menacing at all.
She's a banana.
She is a banana. But Shutin was Shutin and acted like Shutin to the very end, more or less. But her welfare character her welfare that you get from the event is, if it was an arts noble phantasm, I would say that she was actually really, really, really good. But she's one of those mixed buster arts servants, which really limits your options as far as CEs and strategies go, because she's going to depend heavily on her arts card to get to her noble phantasm, but then you need buster support in order to make her noble phantasm work. And for that particular combination, I already have Ilya and Sanzang, so she doesn't actually add very much to my roster except for a lot of salacious art. That's pretty much it.
Of salacious art.
She got some booty rocking in this 4th Ascension.
Yes, writer does like to draw him that way.
Yes.
But yeah, that event is over now, and I don't feel it was as strong as the Himeji Castle climb event. I felt like that was more fun. It was equally silly, but no, actually, it was a little bit sillier. But I felt like it was a more fun and cohesive story than Oniland, and Oniland was about yeah, okay, maybe I would have more affinity for this if I knew anything about Ainu mythology, but I don't. So, it was reaching in a lot of ways. Like the idea, it's got some interesting lore nuggets, like the little known fact that the Einsburns the Einsburn family funded their lifestyle and their research because they got a hold of the Rheingold, the cursed treasure that's behind Siegfried's legend, which is a limitless cursed treasure. So they got a hold of that and they basically used it to finance everything, and that is the reason that there's the reasoning behind a lot of what goes on, is that there's a Grail like tower in the area, and because Setonai is present and using the body of Ilyasville, that Grail manifests as the Rheingold, and it starts to basically spread its curse around the place. But yeah, it was a weaker story, and I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't just get another welfare Ellie-chan, because she is still the villain in this scenario, although she's lost her memory this time, and you've got to sort of, hit her until she remembers.
She's still completely ineffective?
Yes, largely,
yeah.
yes. And her singing is no less atrocious than normal. She has an opportunity to sing well in the Himeji Castle event, and everybody's jaw drops when they hear what her voice is actually like when she's not just being a selfish preening idol. But she still shows up dressed as an Oni, basically, and it's basically the butt of misfortune in this. Like it's a real Wooby story for her, because when she loses her memory and then washes up on shore and wanders around, she basically gets picked on and bullied by everything that she encounters. Like all she wants is someone to talk to, but every time she enters a town, they accuse her of being an Oni or whatever, and then start throwing rocks at her, and she has to leave again. And this goes on for some time, and then the kicker, I suppose, is that nobody in Chaldea noticed her missing.
I mean,
It was
nonsense like
only
that's
that
pretty part of the course for Chaldea, I suppose.
the only thing that really twigged that she'd gone missing was when they realized that the yearly Halloween debacle hadn't happened. And that it turned out that that's what Oniland was. So, yeah, I don't think that they've had any Halloween events since, actually. I think that this is, in fact, the last one that they did, because I don't think that there was one the following year, and I don't think that there's one this year, although they're already doing the Christmas rerun in FGO Japan.
Yeah.
So it's already Paroru season over there.
That's early.
But
I've not had turkey yet.
The only turkey event was All the Statesmen, and that's already gone.
And that
so
was silly.
as far as FGO is concerned, it's already Paroru season. So yeah, I don't know what's coming up next. Probably Lost Belt 3, which will probably drown me for a while longer, although I won't be in such a rush to finish it because most of the events that are capped will be capped at Lost Belt 2 from now on. But yeah, that's going to give me the opportunity to use Kyozurka more because Bond Grails will be coming out typically with Lost Belt 3. So you'll be able to extend your Bond ranking cap beyond 10. So I won't be wasting Bond if I use Kyozurka in my party, which is good because I have finally, with the completion of this event, I have maxed out her stats completely. So yeah, that's done. As far as other games go, other than a small amount of dicking about in Genshin Impact when I've got time, which is rarely, I haven't really played much in the way of Vidya other than that. I don't have a humongous title that I'm looking forward to the way Ari has been looking forward to the latest from Falcom, but I suppose the only thing that I'm really waiting for is the extra remake at this point. So I can't help but whenever I'm playing Genshin Impact, though, I just feel a sort of like hanging sense of regret because the game was a phenomenon, and I can only imagine what a phenomenon it would have been if it wasn't full of resin and gacha bullshit.
Yeah, it had a whole lot of stuff going for it. If they just kept this thing in the oven for like another year and not put gacha BS in it,
I don't think they even would have needed that. If they weren't shackled in concept to the idea that it needed to be a gacha game, it needed to make money hand over fist in that way, then I think that they wouldn't even need an extra year of development. All they would need to do is redirect the efforts that went into finding, cunning and stupid ways in order to hook people.
Yeah. It's there's a whole lot of avenues they could have taken to really keep this game chugging, but it's been 2 weeks now, and the game's already fallen off people's radars.
Yeah, their priority was not making a good game, which is sad because there's clearly a lot of talent involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could have been great.
I find it, I know that there's a lot of brainwashing that goes on in the PRC, but I can't play this game and believe that the people making it, the actual people who are doing the art and doing the programming and doing the this, that, and the other, I can't believe that they themselves are on board with basically making this into a cheap money engine. I feel like their dreams were probably bigger than that. That's just my gut feeling because I don't think that you can actually lavish this much love on a product and then just turn it into a cheap gambling engine.
Well, it's a very expensive gambling engine, actually. If you really want to go for what you want,
I mean cheap.
I know what you mean.
It's a lazy approach to making money, which is a very effective approach. They made $1 bajillion and they're going to keep making money hand over fist because, there's all these people, particularly in China, where, you're not allowed to do anything fun for the most part. So you've got to spend all your disposable income on junk like gacha games. So there's all these people who've got completely maxed out accounts, right? They've got every single character in the game completely maxed out and on full constellation. Like, those are the people that are funding this game. And those are the only people they're really genuinely interested in. And which is sad, because I think that there must be a division between the creative and business sides of this, because this game was not built to be a flash in the pan. You can see from the way that it was put together that it was meant to be enduring, but that was not the priority throughout the whole team, clearly.
Yeah, this is clearly another case of some money crunchers got in the decision-making room and said, I got a great idea. This is how we can scam the customers this time.
Yeah, I feel like because of the way this game is and the place that it's from, that was probably always going to be this bad. It was always going to be a gacha game, and I feel like that it has become the sort of misfortunate, I don't know, outlet for people's genuine creative impulses, which would have been better off going into a standalone game of this sort. But I mean, this was just the hand that they were dealt, is that, we will fund you provided that it will be a gacha game that will make us $1 bajillion by exploiting people's tendency to get sucked into gambling engines.
Yep, and so it is. I'm very glad I have a healthy distaste for the CCP. Otherwise, I might have dumped a little too much money into this game. I probably would have put about $30 into it.
Yeah, I mean, I might have even put more into that if you just took the CCP out of the equation and massage another couple things to be a little bit less cynical, then this would be a game that I'd be quite happily dump the full price of a AAA game into without much thought.
Yeah, just buy in a little bit to get yourself that extra BP line for when you're doing your weeklies and stuff. If you're able to complete them, there's so many resources, but it also gives the CCP money.
Yeah, and ultimately that's what's keeping me from spending any money on this game. I've spent money on games that were based in CCP before. Like, I spent money on Azure Lane. That's also from China, but it's also a famously generous gacha game, which is their entire philosophy with getting people to play the game has been to just wildly flail free stuff in the direction of every player, so that every free-to-play player doesn't even feel remotely held back in any way. And if you want to spend money on it, it's basically, well, I want a couple of quality life things and I want to throw some money at the game because I like it. Like, I was willing to ignore the CCP thing and that because of just how simply generous they were. But this is the opposite of that. There's no generosity here whatsoever. There's just cynicism oozing out of every pore. And the main reason that sticks in my mind is because of how much fun the rest of the product is. But I'm not going to spend a cent on it as a result. Yeah. It's as simple as that. And that's sad to me, because I kind of want to support the talent that made it, but there's no way to do that without supporting, the bean counters that propagated the business model and their political paymasters above them.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think the game will be a good game to come back to. I had a lot of fun in the stretch I ran through it. I think I'm pretty well done with it for a while now. Let it get a few updates, and I'll check back in after we made some progress. But for now, it's a put it on the back burner game for about a year or so, and let the story finish, and then go back and fully explore the world.
It seems like a lot of people who are first timers to the gacha system are getting real rude awakening. Like, a lot of them seriously, genuinely expected that the resin system would get revamped in 1.1.
Nope.
Yeah, I think they're getting the cap extension, and that's it.
Yeah, it's going up to 160. That's all. Do they actually believe that, we've given this feedback and we've given all these ideas so they can just implement something better, right? No, nope. No.
Not how that works.
The current resin system is what makes them money, because people will pay the $5 freaking or $10 or whatever it is a day to be able to max out their resin usage.
Yep, I don't understand why people are willing to do that, but they are willing to do that. And until that changes, there's no motivation to change the resin system.
Yep. Stop giving people money for dumb crap.
And my opinion is that the only reason that they increased the resin cap to begin with is because they doubled the rate at which you can spend it.
Yeah, that
Oh,
seems
right,
about
they did, didn't they?
Yeah, you can do one run and get double rewards by doubling the resin spend. That's all. It's not going to. If anything, it will increase the amount of money that people spend on resin because they will feel in the moment like they got a better proposition because it costs them less time to get more resources.
Yep. It's such a shame, that resin system.
A lot of things are a shame about this game, and I think honestly, part of the shame is that it's so good. Like, why did they have to waste such a good game on such a cynical business model?
And it's got a
I'm
cool
such a-
co-op feature too. Drop in, drop out co-op. I mean,
Yeah.
expand what you can do a little bit with a few patches, and that'd be a selling point by itself.
Yeah, well, I mean that's also hooked into a lot of the systematic problems of it. Like they have pretty brutally stratified their player base using the adventure rank system and the way that moves your world rank up and down, and how hard it is to move between them. Like most people, I think, will never make it to rank 5 because they will burn out on the game before then.
I forget how long it takes to get to rank 5.
A long time.
I imagine most players probably won't finish Mondstadt. I don't know where that would leave you in adventure rank if you finish it.
If you finish Mondstadt and you stick mainly to the quests, you probably won't even make it to World 2.
But yeah. It does make it difficult for players at higher levels. Whenever you rank your world up, you have to understand you're accepting an agreement. Okay, nobody else can come help me anymore if you're higher than all your friends.
Well, the thing is that, for instance, though, I slipped into rank 3 entirely on accident by just because there's no quests, there's no okaying it just happens. And so now I'm in the position where, because I've been so negligent about activities other than exploring, and basically wandering around and exploring is the only thing that has been bumping up my world level, I'm in a position now where my daily commissions are brutally difficult to do. Because like
not to
the
mention your
amount,
weeklies.
yeah, well, in the case of some weeklies like Storm Terror, I can just rank down, can't I?
Yeah, you can pick a lower level version of Storm Terror,
Yeah,
I think.
which I'll have to do. But like, for instance, the thing that I'm thinking of, because I had a real trial today, is the balloon.
Oh, the balloon.
Like, can you imagine what that's like when you've just entered a new world level the other day and your DPS is calibrated to the previous one?
Oh, yeah.
I tried that over and over, and I barely squeaked it out at the very end.
I had 2 characters that were fairly okay going into world level, whatever you're at now at Adventure Rank 30. And I got the balloon quest. And I wanted to shoot myself. I had to repeat that thing so many times. It was the first time I ever got it. Man, that thing's a pain in the butt.
I want to punch in the nose the guy who decided, hey, we'll put an Ice Abyss Mage right at the very end.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll stick
pushed out a high window.
And then we'll stick the balloon in water so you get frozen literally every half second. And the balloon's at like a sliver of health, and you're just barely not going to get unfrozen in time. And it looks like you might make that last attack through a last-ditch sprint, and no, you're frozen again.
Oh, this is sounding sadistic.
It is an unbelievably sadistic one. And they give you hope. They give you hope throughout the rest of it. Although sometimes they don't, and you just get, superconduct freeze, superconduct freeze, superconduct freeze throughout the entire first 30 seconds. But
it boils down to, can I get enough lucky damage in early and at one other point somewhere in its run, and hope the Hillicher will standing on top of the things with lightning bowcasters just have a brain fart for about 20 seconds.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
about the only way you can do it.
It's rough. It's rough. Eventually, I did it. The way that I found to do it was to just land on top of the thing with Ningguang, and then just use her normal attack and nothing but her normal attack over and over and over again. Except anytime her E came up, I just hit the E for a tiny sliver of extra damage. But I just hit the normal attack because you can't use a charged attack. A charged attack can't turn corners fast enough to hit the balloon. So you just hit the normal attack, hit the normal attack, hit the normal attack over and over and over and over, and hope that you get enough damage by the time you get knocked off that you can finish it off before it gets to the finishing line. That was the only strategy that I could come up with to do it. I tried any number of other things, but because I've come into a new world rank, I just don't have the required firepower to do a normal damage focused strategy, let alone pay any attention to the hilichurls. I just had to, eat food every time. Every time my health got too low because I didn't have time to stop and heal. You'd be joking.
Yeah, at higher world levels, I keep Barbara on retainer as a permanent adventurer, and just whenever somebody gets dangerously low because I made one boo-boo, quickly flip to Barbara and press the triangle button and then flip back out.
Gotta watch out for them boo-boos.
But yeah, I mean, I'm still having fun with the game. I think that it's got a lot of legs for me because I didn't play it very hard. It's just I can just drop in and explore, and because I play it infrequently, stuff is always respawned, so there's always chests to run across and things to kill. I'm never starving for content. I am still deeply, deeply frustrated by the reason system, though. Even as little as I play, it still manages to find ways to piss me off.
Yeah.
Because I need it to progress my characters now. There's no incremental progression.
No, it's a system designed just to get in your way.
Yep.
Yeah, it very much is.
So you
just got to hope that you get lucky once in a while. And then every time you get lucky once in a while, it's, oh yeah, I can progress a tiny, tiny bit now. But yeah, it's a horrible system, but it is a cynical system. It's a very effective money-making system.
It does exactly what it's designed to do.
It's so cynical. You can't even join your higher world level friends to get the better rewards from their EXP book, or gold or Mira flowers and ley lines.
Wow.
No.
I would be happy to just join it, just to dick around. Even if the only thing I can get is a tiny bit of more and a tiny bit of kill XP, I would still be happy to be able to join higher world levels. But no, that's not a thing. That's not a thing at all.
It would be hilarious to watch you get one shot by a charging dude with a shield and flung all the way across the map.
You just got to not get hit. That's all.
The game just says no.
Yeah. I had my fun with the game, I think.
Yeah.
It served its purpose for me, which was the thing to do with my hand.
From the fact that there is no trails yet.
Yeah, yes. Trails is coming. I will play this game while I listen to audiobooks and podcasts.
I couldn't get into the game because I knew that gacha system was just lurking there. I didn't even reach the point of the game where the resin system looms up and starts really making itself known.
Well, the game's real strong point is that you don't need to participate in any of that if you're playing very casually like I am.
Yeah.
Like, until you're pretty well progressed, the gacha system, the resin system, they don't figure into what you have to do. So
it's about world level 25 when you start running into, I gotta do a few ley lines. Yeah, I gotta run a few dungeons to upgrade some weapons. I gotta do a few domains. And then you hit the world level 35 and you're like, well, this is my life if I continue playing this game.
Yay.
I've got to 42 and I'm stopping at 42, I think.
It's a nice meme number to stop at.
Yeah, I'm not quite ready to go back to PSO2 yet. I want to wait for the situation to feel nice and stable there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still feel like I'll have a lot of catching up to do when I go back because I'll still want to, progress the story and whatnot. But I want it to have sort of an established incline in PSO2 where it's like, okay, so we know there are people who are going to be coming back now. This is the speed track to get you caught up to things that are relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're finally coming out with them. We'll get the finalization of a few of those systems next patch, and then I think
to make peace with PSO2 as it was.
Yeah.
Not after the second or third time that I had purchased my target piece of equipment and then had it obsoleted within a week. Like, sort of the novelty of that scenario ran dry pretty quickly. So yeah, and I would like to see the Goofy story and stuff like that as well. I also don't necessarily want to get my butt kicked by it. So
episode 4 is really easy. It scales to your level.
That's something.
Caps out like level 60, I think.
I had a hell of a time just with episode 1. So there were places
that's
in
right. You didn't go into episode 1 at like level 20 or whatever, like I did.
I was relatively close to the initial max when I went into there. So things like the worst one was the Crystal Dragon. That was the worst position for me, because that thing was able to two-shot me easily from anywhere on the map. And I ended up having to play it like, a Bloodborne boss or something, where I had to just assume that it was impossible for me to survive getting hit and learn everything that it did, every little tell that it had, so that I was always just where it wasn't and where its attacks weren't at all times. And it was a fun and interesting challenge, but it was also not what I expected from PSO2, which was incredibly rough.
They limit that kind of challenge to the episode 5 S ranks.
Yeah, the thing is that all of that stuff is like, that's contingent on certain assumptions about where you are as a player and as a character, which those assumptions were not in place in episode 1. It was just arbitrarily scaling it. And, in any situation where you've got scaling with levels, there tends to be inclines in various places where things get dramatically harder or dramatically easier without a clear reason.
Yeah.
But yeah. There's also a lot of chores to do in that game, I found. And by that I mean, oh man, I don't have the skill. Now I've got to go and do this particular exploration over and over until it drops. That type of thing.
The better thing to do is just every week give Yerks what he wants from the mining nodes, and do a mining when you do your daily, and blow your mining stuff, so you get the rare drops from the mining nodes, and you take those to Yerks, and he gives you like 2 million Mira every single day, and you just save Mira over time doing that in your daily quests and the high money daily quests, because they'll always overlap with the recommended quests, and then you just turn those in, and you can make like
I need those to level my rings.
You need Lilipan vests.
What? He wants Lilipan vests?
And broken bottles? Yeah, he wants the weird crap that you don't use for anything.
Huh. I thought you were talking about the one who wants the rarest gems that you can get out of those nodes.
No. The only one that might be used is one of the rocks from Harukatan. And I'm not even sure it's the one that that's used to upgrade the rings.
But the gathering system is something I have a huge problem with in that game. Like that feels like something out of Genshin Impact, that system.
Yeah, I have hundreds of stamina drinks in my bank right now, so if I ever really needed to farm something, I could. But
I use them up all the time, so I don't have any. Because you got to level those rings, man.
Yeah.
It's not like you can buy the parts on the auction house. Nobody sells them because they need to use them themselves.
Yeah, those are always expensive.
Yeah.
But
no, they literally aren't there ever. I've never seen any. I used to check over and over and over again for the ones that I needed to level my rings, and I could never find any. There were just no hits.
We found weird things happen because the search caching on the store is based on your local cache of seen items in game. So if you also haven't seen a material that you need recently on your current device, it will not show up in the store.
Oh,
Yeah, they did some really weird coding when they put their game together. So you can see its heritage as an ancient game. You really can.
You can tell this had a Vita port at one point.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing on the Vita that isn't screwy in one way or another.
Yep. So, speaking of Vita ports, should we use that as a segue into my week, or you got more?
Nah, I don't have anything else to talk about, really.
All right. So, my week. Cold Steel 4 came out.
Yeah.
And I got to play it quite a bit, but I didn't get to play it as much as I want. And I have a story for the start of the week on how Sony screwed up.
Again.
This one is not on Bamco, or not Bamco, who publishes this thing? NISA. This one's not on NISA, like a lot of people are trying to blame it on NISA. This is entirely on Sony. So, they put up Cold Steel 4 pre-orders for a 25% discount. They only put up the Digital Deluxe Edition, but you got it for the price of the regular game. Okay, pretty standard pre-order bonus. Okay, so I go ahead and buy it because I know I'm going to play the game even if it's god-awful.
Mm-hmm.
So, launch night comes. I'm exhausted from work that night and sleep from 7 to 7 in the morning. So I die after work that day. And get up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh, for sure the download's up now. Go and check. Can't download the game. Go on GameFAQs. See, there's issues with it, but GameFAQs is a bunch of spurgs and don't have any way to sort their information from what's accurate and what's not. Go to the Reddit. Similar story, except a bit more organized. Finally get an answer on PSN profiles on the Japanese forum for the Japanese version of the game, the trophy hunting website, that says, yeah, Sony screwed up. They did not match that item's product key to anything in the store, so there's nothing to download. You have to contact Sony customer support, request a refund of this thing, explain to them that it's a bunk key and it's their fault on their end with this game, and then you have to rebuy the game as at normal price.
Oh boy.
So, Sony done goofed.
That is one serious goof.
So I still had, it was 7:30 at this point, and I still had an hour and a half before work. So I dinged up the instant messenger robo customer service system and kept mashing through options like get me a live representative right now because I don't want to have to explain to a robot why Sony screwed up.
How many halves of hours did that take?
Only about 15 minutes.
Okay.
It was super early in the morning on the East Coast, though. So, not a whole lot of people slamming the system, I guess. Yes. Now, thankfully, I got a guy that had apparently dealt with this earlier in the day. So, he's like, yeah, I know the problem. Don't worry, I'll hook you up with it. I'll get it taken care of. And he got it taken care of and refunded my pre-order. And then he's like, okay, I revoked the key and refunded your money. And he mentioned, yeah, you got to go. You can buy it again. You can download it right now. This is totally something that Sony messed up. I noticed in the conversation he was blaming Sony as though he wasn't working for Sony because he was apparently this type of garbage.
Oh, I love that.
So
yeah, okay. So happy ending in the end.
So got it downloaded and went to work. Well, I got it downloaded pretty quick. The servers were really fast that morning, so I booted it up, made my system data, and loaded the prologue, put the game in standby, and went to work. Came back and started playing the game finally. And it is more Cold Steel, is the best way to put it. It follows the exact same pathway that where Cold Steel 2 followed Cold Steel 1, Cold Steel 4 mirrors it with Cold Steel 3. In how it plays and the systems that are added, as well as the way that the story progresses. And so it starts with a prologue, and instead of starting in medias res in the way that the other games do, it starts off actually right at the end of Cold Steel 3. The game proper doesn't start for another week or two after that, but you start off in a prologue on August 1st with Estelle, Joshua, and the Crossbell team infiltrating somewhere. And you're like, oh, cool, we get to see all these old characters from the other franchises and see them in full 3D and see their S-crafts and stuff. And it's really fun. And the first thing I noticed was they kept all the English voice actors from Sky, despite them only having combat lines in Sky.
That's something at least. Wait.
So you hear JYB screaming Phantom Raid on Joshua. So, and that was fun. They did a good job updating all the old S-crafts into 3D, and they all look really good. Estelle's Wheel of Time looks incredible in 3D, especially because I just finished the Sky series like half a year ago. So getting to see all that was a lot of fun. And then you finish the prologue, and you're back to doing field mission.
Yeah.
Because of course you are. So Reen at the end of 3 is indisposed. He's taken off the playing board for a little bit. And the whole first act of Cold Steel 4 is we need to figure out what happened to Reen, where he's at, and get him back. But the way we're going to do this is we're going to wait for intel to come through, and we're going to try and pinpoint his location by taking care of problems for the general citizenry in random areas of Arabonia.
What?
That makes perfect sense. And it's like the entirety of Trails in the Sky Chapter 1.
Yes. So
Everything
let's
is
start off
solved
by
by helping
finding
random people
finding
get
everyone a
fucking-
shoehorn.
Yeah, so instead of needing to go visit elemental towers this time, like in the Sky series, you need to go stick elemental stakes in the ground so that you can use them as an elemental GPS to figure out where Reen is.
Yeah, of course you do.
So this is your reason for helping the people in the local area, is figuring out where the intense sources of mana are coming from so that you can figure out where to stick the stake. But it is really just a way for them to shoehorn field missions into the game. Because they couldn't go a single Cold Steel game without having you go to random parts of the world and do random crap for people.
Yeah.
In
It
a
is
very
sort of a
systemic...
JRPG staple.
It is just, the Trails series has a very Trails way of doing it, where you go to one area, you're locked in that area, and as soon as you say you're going to leave, all the quests you didn't do while you were in that area disappear. And time marches on. And then you go to another area of Arabonia and do that. And for what it's worth, they do make it fairly interesting with the characters you meet. You get a whole lot of background lore about the series and what's going on. And a whole lot of unanswered questions from all the way back in the Sky games are answered. We figure out what Agate and Tita are really up to and have been doing. Why Tita's in Arabonia as a student to begin with. That Agate still has a not crush on her and is trying to continue to tell himself he doesn't. And they keep...
You gotta lie to yourself.
Yeah. And we see glimpses of people from the Sky series all over the place. Big names like Shera and Cassius, but they don't tell you who they are. They'll say like the Silver Streak, and when you do see them on camera, it'll be like a half shot of their lower face or just their back and their hair.
But everybody knows who that is. There's nobody who doesn't know who that is who's playing the 4th installment of a game of a game franchise that has like 12 games.
It's like, oh, that's the drunk gypsy girl. Yeah, she was my partner for 3 games. No, she's literally the drunk gypsy girl. Like, she drinks so much and she is so gypsy, it's not even funny.
Jeez.
Wasn't the receptionist in their hometown even more of a drinker than she was?
Yeah, and that's one of her victims comes back with horror stories in Arabonia, telling legends of this girl who is just immune to alcohol.
That's a thing that happens.
We get the return of a lot of people from the Sky series, and some people that I presume are from the Crossbell series as well, that we in the West don't have reference for unless you've played the one fan translation that's out and have read the spreadsheet for the other one.
Aren't they porting some of those?
I
saw something about that recently.
Yeah, we saw something about it, but it wasn't confirmation of an official port. It was, I think they were moving the Crossbell games to PS4 or something, but we didn't have confirmation of a localization with them. Geofront's almost done with the second game, so we may have the fan patch before then. We don't know. They've already finished the translation in the first editing pass. They're on second editing pass now and taking chest joke donations from the community. So they're going to be done pretty soon. They're
already well into the next arc, aren't they, as far as production's concerned?
They're working on the Calvard arc, supposedly. We assume it's the Calvard arc. Because the end of Origins apparently foreshadows that it's going to be Calvard that comes up next. So we've been to...
Was that where the what's his name, Zin guy was from?
Yeah, it's not Asia.
Totally not Asia.
Yeah, totally not Asia. So that's where the next series is going to take place, and they swear it's only going to be 2 games this time. They've said that every single time.
Yeah, that's
And
totally a lie.
But
the
then
only
so
time they kept it,
and they just keep writing the story longer and longer and longer.
well, that happened with 3. With Cold Steel 1 and 2, it was also supposed to be 1 game, but they ran into a problem called the Vita. And the Vita couldn't handle a game as big as Cold Steel 1 and 2 if they were to make it as big as it was going to be.
Yeah.
So they had to split it in 2. Cold
Curse
Steel
rating
3 and
hardware
4,
limitations.
Cold Steel 3 and 4 had the unfortunate problem of 3 just got too dang big. So they wrote a mid-story finale and just cut the story in 2. So that's why this cliffhanger has been particularly bad for those of us waiting on it. It's because, like, we finally see Chancellor Osborn step out of the shadows to become the full front-facing big bad of the series that he's always been hinted at to be. And
Yay.
he picks up Green by his throat. We will drown this world in darkness and despair. Fade to black.
Damn it.
Actually, it's a hard cut to black.
Oh, wow.
And
So,
the credits just...
It's like, here's the big bad. And now you get to enjoy blue balls for the next however long it's been. 3 years?
It was 2 years.
2 years.
So, wasn't quite 3 years, but still 2 years after that was pretty painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've generally enjoyed the callbacks that have been done. They have been plentiful, but spread out enough that they are not jarring. The only one that was particularly bad was when they just straight ripped a plot from Trails in the Sky SC. Like, there's a point in Trails in the Sky SC where you have to break in somewhere by hiding in a military cargo crate and being shipped in with the shipments.
Didn't that happen in the first chapter?
Maybe it was in first chapter. And they come in with the bioscanners and they detect something and it's a cat. And the cat runs away and they're like, oh, I guess it was just the cat. And they close the shipping container back up and a few hours later, you and your buddies finally get out of it. This happens exactly again, except this time it's Celine the talking cat that gets discovered. So this
Does
time
actually mention it?
So you don't have to look up the cat talk book every time you want to know what the cat is saying?
No, the cat can speak English. At least the cast discovers the cat can talk in CS2. Reen kind of figures it out a bit earlier.
All right, I found the quote from the interview about the whatchamacallit, the Falcon president, and he's hoping that the ports of Hour and Zero to the PS4 will be able to make the case for a localization.
Yeah.
But the way things are going, he doesn't have the ability to get a localization going.
Yeah. And they're very expensive games to localize. It's a lot of
the
text.
PSP one,
Yeah.
the PSP one, he said he doesn't really want to just re-release it as is. He wants to rebuild everything in 3D if he's going to redo that one.
Yeah.
That's
Makes
fair.
sense. But they're also taking the next game into a more action-oriented direction, kind of like the Tales, not the Trail. That's going to get confusing.
Yes.
The Tales of series.
The Tales series combat engines run the gamut from miserable to too complicated and extremely deep.
I mean, if long as we stay in the frame of Berseria or Graces, I think we'll be good. We have no idea what this more action-oriented system will be like, but they have confirmed that the Caliber era will be the end of the ATB battle gauge. Or the battle system. And ATB, to be fair, has pretty much played out everything it could possibly do at this point. They have reached peak ATB system. And they've just reached territory where you can break a character within 5 minutes of getting them if they got decent crafts. And it can be any of them. And
it's pretty much inevitable. I mean, people are very, very used to it by now, for one thing. And for another, there's only so many cool things that you can do without breaking the system. And eventually, if you're going to do something, make an ability that does something cool, it's by design going to have to impede one of the core systems in some way. And I don't mean that as a pun for impede, but yeah,
Impede is one of the problems with the current system. It's good.
that's like, I don't mean that to say that as a pun, but yeah, it's just the limitations of the system are what causes it to be so exploitable, and there's no way out at this point.
Yeah, and they broke it further, making Brave Orders, which are a fun addition, but and added a lot of strategy to fights. But it's just too easy to bust if you know what you're doing. And the solution of make stuff harder to upgrade and more expensive is not a direction I want to see them continue. And that is the tack they have taken in parts of Cold Steel 4, especially when it comes to upgrade materials. Ugh. They're just called U materials. They're a universal drop, and they can drop from a whole lot of stuff, but you never ever have enough of them to upgrade everybody's weapon to the current tier. And you need everybody's weapon upgraded, because everybody is used at every point in the story. And the cast list for this game is massive. Like, we have pretty much the entirety of the Sky franchise, the entirety of the Crossbow franchise, and all of the Cold Steel franchise, both the first and second half casts, all rolled into a playable unit by the start of Act 2.
That's kind of nuts.
It's a lot of dudes. And there's still more. I know Shara's out there. I'm pretty sure Prince Oliver's out there somewhere and going to be joining the team at some point.
Olivier.
Yeah.
Oliver.
Like, so.
What about his bodyguard? What's his name?
Mueller.
His
younger brother is a mainstay cast member in Cold Steel 3 and 4. But Mueller makes very rare appearances in the Cold Steel games because he's usually off in the background with Olivier doing stuff, or more aptly wrangling Olivier from doing stuff too retarded.
Dragging him out of a place where he is attempting to consume too much alcohol.
Yeah. He has a few cool cavalry moments, but he's not a main character. His whole story was told in Trails in the Sky the Third anyway. So yeah, that's basically all you need to know about Mueller. And he has the best S-craft in the series. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it, but I did not get to play it as much as I wanted because I'm an adult now. I can't no life games. That's the primary reason.
We really need to figure out the solution to that.
Yeah.
Just I would get home after work and I would sit down and play it for as much as I could, and it'd get to about 12 o'clock, and I'm like, I gotta get some sleep before work. If I go in tired, I'm not gonna be able to do work. That is not a good feeling. And then we had that stupid storm come through. And it did not do much damage to my area. It hit us pretty hard, and trees were down all over the road. But we had one tree in my yard that collapsed on top of another smaller tree and crushed it completely. So I have 2 trees worth of mess for the price of 1.
Yay.
And I've had to figure out how to disentangle, chop up, and move this mess out into the dump pile to get it out of the middle of the yard without a chainsaw.
Did you have to pull up the stump too?
I haven't got that far yet. There's still tree out there.
When you do, are you going to have to plant a replacement as well? Because I remember last time.
I do not think I'll be coerced into planting a new tree. This was kind of in the side yard away from everything, and it mostly just blocked view of the horses from the neighbors. The horses are really creepy. All of them came over to the fence while I was working on this tree and were just staring at me.
Oh yeah, that's what they do.
Like,
yeah, horses are kind of creepy like that.
Like, ooh, what you doing? We're just gonna sit here and watch.
Excuse me while we don't blink.
Yeah, and I just had like 5 or 6 horses staring at me.
Gee.
Yeah, that's pretty much that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is also why I'm extremely tired today and going in bursts, because I had to find a way to get that tree pulled apart without a chainsaw. And doing that with a hatchet will wear you out.
Oh yeah.
So
Alright.
yeah,
We
I'm
should probably take a break then.
yep, we should.
Alright.
We'll go to a break and here's some music, folks. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Yes, indeedy. And sadly, no emails today.
No.
Sad face.
Sad face.
So we should jump into some news because stuff kind of happened this week.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Let's see. What do we have?
I have the wrong tab up.
It's all kind of bad.
I did not preload all the articles into my browser, so I cannot see them easily because I'm bad at organization.
I'm looking at the wrong ones. Where does this week's one
This is
start?
organized, folks.
Yeah, we're bad at this game.
Really, really bad at this.
Right.
All right. Let's start off with a funny one, shall we?
All right.
If you like.
I don't believe this actually exists, but BuzzFeed Productions is a thing.
What?
Apparently, they are aiming to be a movie studio, I guess. So they've brought on a bunch of big-ish names in the awful movie scene, such as Ellen Page.
Ugh.
And they're going to be making a movie about a woman who wants to climb to the top of the esports scene while fighting Gamergate.
Is this the one that I linked to you saying that it's
a thing that exists. Yes.
The worst thing ever.
It is.
It's like they have scientifically designed the thing, which is the worst thing.
They have. Dear. So, Yeah, here we go. The article describes it as Pitch Perfect, which Pitch Perfect was a fine movie. I don't mind Pitch Perfect.
I never saw
But-
it.
It's exactly what you expect. It's a singing competition. And it just kind of hits every trope as it falls out of the trope tree. And that's fine. But yeah, it's Pitch Perfect with esports set against the game backdrop of the Gamer Gorts. Gamer Gorts! So, it's... Yeah, you're
How
right, it's-
long ago was that? How many years ago now?
Half a decade.
For something that wasn't a thing?
For something that
For something
really wasn't a thing, yeah.
Like that, well, I'm not talking about whether or not it was or was not a thing. And like in reality, I think that GG had a point, and anybody who consumes our content around that, because while Gamergate may have been half a decade ago, we are nearly a decade old as far as the show is concerned. So anyone who listens to our content that was produced around that time will realize that we thought that GG had a point, but it was the avowed opinion of all the talking heads that GG was bullshit, and that it was all about harassing the Wermans. It was about people's misogynoodles and stuff.
They made
But,
their narrative and they stuck to it.
That message is the fun.
It died away over the course of time, as all things do, except that they need that boogeyman because you can't be oppressed without an oppressor. So in order for Wamans and video games to continue to be victims, they created Gamergate, as in the Gamergate that exists in their head is now this sort of basically the tech sector equivalent of the patriarchy.
Yeah.
It's just this ghost that hovers around the edges of reality and randomly oppresses Wamans or whatever. And that's it. That's their whole thing.
That's its entirety of its existence. But the problem is it doesn't actually exist.
Yeah, there's no even at its height, there was not roving gangs of gamergators looking to sexually assault women.
No.
I mean, the way they talk about Gamergate, you'd think we were going around the U.S. burning down cities or something.
Oh,
No,
wow, that's an
market,
interesting stone to throw.
The market's been cornered on that, I'm afraid.
Yes.
It wasn't in 2015, though.
Well, I don't know that that's strictly true. When was the Michael Brown thing? When was the Michael Brown thing?
That might have been 2015. Maybe. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, yeah. BuzzFeed's dumb. I wouldn't even know who these names are if they didn't make fools of themselves on Twitter. And I see occasionally people laugh at them when they post it to the Donald or something.
Yeah. So, tell you what though,
I can't think of a worse concept for a movie. Like the problem with using esports as a topic is, how do I put this? It's hard to make fun of a clown. In reality, well, reality is stranger than fiction, and the esports scene is a total clown fiesta of drama and corruption and all sorts of, like, if you made a documentary, it would actually be more interesting.
Because it would actually.
Driving a car through a Taco Bell.
Yeah, like if you could make like a reality TV series just about the Smash community alone.
Oh yeah,
but the amount of sort of wheeling and dealing and match fixing and rule breaking and new rules being introduced at the last minute to marginalize particular competitors and all sorts of, like, everything that goes on in esports, because esports is run by amateurs, they think that you run esports leagues the way they see sports being run in sports movies, so they actually end up playing out like sports movies. So it doesn't make sense to try and make a dramatic movie about something that is in its essence trying to ape dramatic movies.
Yeah, we need these people don't have any idea what consistency is, and I think that's their biggest problem.
There is
They
another
cannot
aspect
settle-
as well. As much of a circus as esports is, there's still a lot of money in it. And
Well, there's
Well,
a lot
no,
of
there's a lot of
money
money
thrown
put
at it.
in. There's
Well,
a lot
yeah.
of money put in. No money comes out.
no,
Ever.
but the thing is, there is a lot of people who have an investment in it, and consider this movie would potentially be the broader public's first impression of esports.
Feeling real good about them esports investment
If I-
wizard.
Yeah, if I was an esports executive, I would first and foremost find a new job. But secondly, I would be doing my absolute utmost to kill this movie.
Well, the esports executive, for instance, from Blizzard, is now they've decided to bring in the guy from Major League Baseball to run their esports division. So he's going to be one of the very first people brought in who knows how sports goes. Unfortunately, he doesn't know anything about video games.
Yeah, you've kind of swung too far the other way now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no way out but clown at this point.
Yeah, honk honk.
Yep. The closest thing we had to a functioning esports yearly setup with yearly competition and point system and everything just got completely destroyed by Me Too accusations and pedophilia accusations.
You know,
Like
again,
Evo's dead. And it was the closest thing we had to a yearly consistent, decently run esports system. And that's dead because it got Me Too'd by these people.
The Axis one is going strong, and they get more branches every year, but it's kind of niche.
But yeah, they're enemies. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're the best fighters on the market, but that's just my opinion.
they're certainly the most fun to watch. And
I think that they just have more points in cool than anything else. I think that the other ones are all played out at this point.
Yeah.
But Arc Revo, like, they've got so many different tournaments, so many different divisions. There's a huge amount of interest in them because they are fun to watch for people who don't even know what's going on, and their graphical design is just so impressive. They never stop drawing views because, like, Grand Blue is just beautiful to look at. Persona still has tons of fans. Blaze Blue's still going strong. Guilty Gear is, like, I think the premier example of its genre. Like,
Guilty Gear is just absolutely phenomenal to look at.
They tick all the boxes for what you need to make fighting games into a spectacle again. It's just that there seems to be this schism that there are large chunks of the FGC who refuse to throw their weight behind it because they're married to freaking Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or
And
Mortal Kombat or something.
They complain about things like netcode and how it's not rollback and how the Japanese can't do it. They find all kinds of reasons to marginalize the anime games and make sure they never get any coverage.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I just thought I know when you linked it before, you didn't want it necessarily as an article, but honestly, it's too easy just not to laugh at this.
It makes me cringe.
Yeah,
because
in a bad way.
This is what where people are going to look at gaming in general, and they'll see this, what they're going to portray as this horrifying visage of a bunch of evil, foul rapists gathered in their dark rooms with their game controllers and whatnot. It's just going to be this horrifying parody, but it will be the only thing a lot of people know about gaming.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be it'll be even worse than what people thought about Nerds when The Big Bang Theory came out and really hit its stride.
Oh, I hate that show.
That was such a cringe fest. My goodness.
Oh.
The only people that like that show are people who want to mock nerds. Like the idea that there's all of these people who are trying to credit it with ending the bullying of nerds don't seem to realize what's actually going on.
Yeah,
It was attempt to mainstreamize and normalize as a marketing demographic gaming, but in essence it was like, this is why people argue that gatekeeping is a good thing. It's because of shows like that. because you just
Yes.
don't need that sort of corrupting influence in your hobby.
It's just horrible. All right. Who wants to pick the next news article on thingy?
Sure.
You
I
need
can
to
grab.
believe in teleshells.
Okay, I can grab the one that I grabbed. So I thought when I posted this article initially, I posted, "Oops, we already got that one," and deleted both my posts.
Oh, whoops.
But that's just because there are so many of these stories.
I'm like, oh nope, we didn't have this one. This is just the other former Blizzard Entertainment employee
Not
leaving.
the other, and not the other, the other.
The other.
Yeah. Launching a new company after leaving Blizzard.
Because that's just what you do these days, I guess. You're like, your bona fides is not working for Blizzard, it's having left Blizzard.
Yeah, it's having
Yeah.
ascended above Blizzard these days.
It's like I went to hell and survived and got a T-shirt and started a game company. So at least Chris Messon's doing it a bit different. So he's the one that's starting it this time. He's making a new tabletop company, Warchief Gaming.
Okay.
So this is a wargaming tabletop, not RPG tabletop, which I am not that into. I'm peripherally aware of it. But I'm
Wargaming
not.
I
is...
used to love wargaming. It used to totally be my jam, but
It is cool,
price.
but
the price.
it is expensive.
It's definitely an older guy hobby type of thing. Like when they don't have expenses to deal with because they have their own.
Yeah. Whoops. Sorry, folks. It seems like Discord has suddenly exploded on us again, so I'm just going to throw it to some music. We will be right back.
Fern's internet had problems.
Well,
And Discord had problems.
Yeah, it wasn't the internet, it was Discord, and it decided once I murdered it and rebooted it, it was going to install a bunch of updates. So hopefully that fixes it.
Yeah. But we were just pointing out that Chris Metzen is now making a wargaming thing.
So yeah, we have any idea of what the actual theme is going to be yet, or no, not yet?
I don't think so. I think it's just been announced.
I think that the part of the story that I think is worth comment is the on the nose name that he gave his company.
I mean,
yeah, War Chief Gaming.
It is most definitely a certain gesture in the direction of Blizzard Entertainment.
I'm worried though that they will have a lawyer who is able to construe that as attempting to trade on the name and recognition of a Blizzard property.
They might get some leeway if Metzen does the Thrall voice or the Metzen voice when he does the adverts.
Yeah. I mean, it's his voice though.
I could see Activision being cynical enough to try to sue him over his own voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see them actually getting anywhere. I think they just do it out of spite.
In California? Are you kidding me? They totally have a chance with that.
Your legal system is a nightmare then.
Yeah, our legal system
it's
like
it's not really by nation.
Yeah.
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 Like California is just a mess in general.
California is entirely up to the whims of the judge.
Oh, that's bad.
And most of those judges are not very intelligent. And most of them are also rabid partisan lefties.
Well, I mean, I don't know that that's going to have much effect in this particular case, but
That'd be will.
Don't know. Yeah, I don't know what. I just think that was like naming it that might have been just a shade cheeky.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was going for, though.
I mean, whether or not that's what he was going for is not the part that's in doubt here. The part that is doubtful is whether or not he can get away with it.
Well, time will tell.
It's probably not worth it to get the bad press for Sue and Metzen, especially with Blizzard having all kinds of other problems at the moment to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that's also not going to make you look very good in front of your fans either.
No.
Yeah, the fans in general have a high opinion of Metzen's work on the game, even if in the critical analysis it's mixed from the people that really look at it. Most of the fans really like Metzen. So going after him will not get people happy.
No. All right. Moving on then.
Somebody else pick the next one.
Oh,
someone take me. Every time we go to change topic, I've just been engaged by something horrible, and I'm unable to focus because I'm that professional.
All right. A minor one. Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed again.
Right. So the interesting part about this story, well, there are a few interesting parts, but the main ones are that it's not the first time. This is the second delay in a few months. And that, honestly, from a project management point of view, doesn't really speak well of the project at all.
Yeah.
Like that's you expect better. If you're as one thing if you're trying to establish your timeline a long time in advance, but this was only months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they still don't know what they're doing. Okay, I'm going to bail out of this fight. I can't concentrate while I'm doing this because suddenly a whole bunch of extra fatui showed up and it's gotten really hairy really quickly. Anyway, so in the particulars of this delay, the announcement, and they did a press conference of sort, I suppose you would call it, or a conference call or something. Anyway, basically, their claim is that the product is just already done. It's ready to go. It's ready to sell, but they have to delay it. And the reason that they have to delay it is that the ready to go-ness is more or less constrained to the PC. And the real bugbear that they're dealing with is trying to work out how to get the thing to work optimally on what is essentially now last generation consoles. That's what's holding them back. Basically, because they are attempting to make a game that is effectively state of the art, except it's going to work on the PS4 and the Xbone, and that's apparently just a really tough order at this point to get everything to work properly.
You're gonna have to reduce that shadow quality.
Yeah, so that seems to be what they're attributing as the cause of this, is the sheer amount of optimization work that needs to be done in order to get it to work on 10 different systems or whatever, most of which are pretty solidly most of which are pretty solidly. I just phased straight through the world.
Don't do that.
Hell? Most of which are really out of date now, and honestly don't have the horsepower to do what they're trying to do. So, yeah, that's their reasoning anyway. No knowing if they're just making excuses or if it's like really truly valid. But that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I've had wobbly opinions on Cyberpunk 2077 throughout its production cycle.
I'm eager to get my hands on the game, admittedly, but it's not going to be a day one purchase, I can tell you that.
Honestly, it's taken so long to come out that I've pretty much lost interest at this point.
Exactly. It's really started to lose the sheen.
It made me raise an eyebrow when it was first announced, and the first about year-ish, it was being talked about, and then after that, the hype levels went down.
It was easy to get hype when Keanu walks out on stage and looks like he's sozzled or whatever. But obviously, but it's just so much water under the bridge now. Apparently, they're under sort of brutal crunch conditions at the moment, trying to get everything done, and they can't afford to have people not care about it. But I don't know. I don't know whether or not they're going to make it. They extended their window for another 3 weeks, and remains to be seen. We can get there. Who even knows?
Well, we'll wait and see. Yeah, like I said, I've got plenty of other stuff that I'm looking forward to before playing Cyberpunk. I think at this point,
it's not even on my radar
comes
anymore.
out, I'll be playing that non-stop.
Yeah, I was interested in it casually. I'm not a huge Cyberpunk fan, but they put a lot of polish into their games historically, so it looked like it might be interesting. But I feel like it's almost like every news story that comes out about it makes me just slightly less interested in actually playing it.
Yeah, the longer this thing sits in the doldrums and gets news that comes out about it, it's just stuff that makes me lose interest in it every time.
And them using wokeness to generate headlines also doesn't exactly enthrall me.
That's what I was hinting at there.
Yeah, we can do that. Do without that.
I don't know when people are going to finally realize that that's not actually an interest of the gaming community as a whole. Like, actual gamers don't give a toss about that stuff. They don't want to be fed real world politics every 5 minutes. But
gaming is a hobby all about escapism. So
yes, that they don't want people to be able to leave their dreary lives behind and go and do something cool in some other world. No, you have to be told about people's pronouns because people have 42 genders in every possible world.
Only 42?
It's the arc number of this episode.
That's somethingist. So anyway.
I see.
Right. What else should we talk about? Should we laugh at EA?
Sure, we can laugh at EA.
Deserve it.
They seriously deserve it. So we have the Dutch have done a thing.
Oh, this was funny.
Why did it have to be the Dutch?
It's because it's the freaking Dutch. They can't even decide what they want to call themselves. So if you go to Holland, they're called the Dutch because reasons. And the Dutch have decided to fine EA a solid amount of money over
A
loot
good
boxes.
Not a ridiculous chunk of change for EA. One that they'll probably pay happily to stay in that market if this is what'll get them to shut up.
Yeah,
But it's pressure.
it is pressure. So, the Dutch government will be charging EA 500,000 euros every week until the loot boxes had been removed from FIFA, citing gambling
That's
laws.
fine.
So,
Let's see, what's the current euro to dollar rate? So in US monies, that's about $1.16.
okay. So,
So increase that number by 16%.
I think your math is a little bit off there.
Let's see, we have, what'd you say, 500,000 euros?
500,000 euros. So, for reals this time.
Okay, times 1.16. So $580,000.
Okay, there you go.
Well,
So,
the real cost of this ruling is it's just another thing to add to the list of things that can be brought up when these suits are raised everywhere else.
Mhm.
yeah, but there's surprise mechanics.
Surprise mechanics.
Surprise mechanics.
I
Jeez.
forget how hard we ragged on him for that, but
They
if
deserve
we,
it, though.
I think we needed to rag harder
I think
because
we
that was
may need to rag
hilariously
harder.
dumb.
That was seriously the dumbest thing they could have possibly said at that point.
The thing is, it's true to a certain extent. I mean, that's the motivation behind like random loot in looter shooters.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's the same thing, but they used it in about the most cynical and tactless way one possibly could conceive of.
Yes. So I applaud the Dutch government for finally cracking down on this nonsense, because loot boxes and all that sort of gambling type mechanics in games have been getting out of hand lately.
As an addendum to the story, I posted another article, which is that a class action lawsuit has been filed against EA in Canada over loot boxes.
Yay!
So basically, they're getting buffeted from every angle at this point.
Yep. I think it's time EA to take the hint and stop with the loot boxes.
No, it's time for them to see how long they can ride this gravy train through until they're forced to by legislation.
Keep
That's going to
pushing
screw over. That's going to screw over other companies as well.
You got to keep pushing that surprise mechanics tripe.
Yeah, like they could have just called it gacha. Everybody knows about that now. Because it's a gacha, right? You get except you get a football player instead of a waifu.
It is a gacha.
Why would you roll on a stinky boy? Boys are icky.
Because some people want husbandos, I guess, based on real people. That sounds incredibly creepy.
Yeah, it gets creepier the more you think about it, so just don't.
I mean, waifus are creepy enough as it is, but at least they're not real.
They're also not icky boys.
At this point, the creepiness is kind of overlays everything else. But, yeah. So EA's getting really hammered on this. There is, I suppose, still demand for that sort of market. Like, if you go onto a mobile game, everyone just kind of expects that you're going to get fleeced at this point. But if you're charging, what are they up to, about $80-$90 for a FIFA game?
60 still in the US, I think.
Not to mention that they're usually not different from the previous one in any way.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a big thing that happened. I think it was last week before. The newest FIFA goes exactly that. It was the same game wearing a slightly different hat.
My assumption is that it is one part attempting to basically sucker people by obviating all of their gains from the previous call it a season, since it's basically a season now.
It essentially is, yeah.
And one part also them trying to recoup the cost of licensing fees for image rights and club rights.
Insane.
Yeah. And in the case of FIFA, at least there's Pro Evo in order to provide a bit of competition. Yeah. Because they have to bid for, but the thing is, it also means that they are bidding for these rights against an opponent, meaning the cost can get driven higher.
Yep.
So yeah, they're caught between a rock and a hard place here, and they're only making it worse for themselves with their approach.
Yeah. How about this an easy option? Don't be a dick.
No,
It's too hard to explain to those types.
Yeah.
that's in their blood. Their blood is just semen. They are entirely dick.
Right, well,
See,
now that
well,
I'm going to have nightmares for the next week, we should move
Why
on.
would you do this? Why would you do this?
It was too easy. I
Just,
couldn't not take it.
jeez. What else we got?
Let's see. Where was it? Oh, this was that Bloomberg. You got the article, but it was the one on Bloomberg. Let's see here.
Bloomberg. Don't go to Bloomberg,
So-
kids.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, you
So-
can't. They won't let you. That's the problem. That's why I had
They
to
won't
copy
let you unless
paste
you
it.
give them money.
So I know the general gist of the story, even without the article in front of my face. So 343 Industries is having more problems.
Yay. Again.
Another top director of the project left for Halo Infinite this time.
You know, for given the fact that they've slathered Master Chief all over the marketing materials for the new Xbox, it's going to be pretty embarrassing if it doesn't even make it out in 2021.
I just want to point out there is a game right now that Xbox is trying to sell you as their system seller. They had it ready to go with Master Chief on the Monster Energy cans and the codes to punch in already shipped. They had to delay it, and the game is so bad then cannot be salvaged to a point that one of the directors just up and quit.
That's how you know when your game is bad. So yeah, it's. Did they ever actually address the potato faces properly? I don't think they did.
I think they gave some kind of waffly explanation about the graphics in general, and they didn't commit to anything. It was all corpo speak.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much right.
But yeah,
So
and it makes it sound like this guy is still a Microsoft employee. He's just not working on Halo Infinite anymore. But he's also, I don't think, working for 343 at all anymore. And he is doing the usual departed head of department speak of, oh, I'm sure they'll continue fine, and I've simply stepped back to look for future opportunities bit.
yeah, it's something nobody buys.
Oh, that boilerplate. It's almost a cry for help.
Yeah. Like, nobody believes this at face value.
No.
So, Halo Infinite still doesn't have a release date, and I imagine whatever release date they were hoping for to announce probably just got pushed back a bit further.
Yep. That's okay. Not going to buy it anyway.
Don't have an Xbone. Not going to get one either, so. At least not right now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's there's really not a lot to commend either of the next gen systems right now. In fact the single most interesting thing that I've even seen on offer is the rather paltry offering of the apparently dramatically improved load times on PS4 games on the PS5. It's not enough to sell me a system, but it would be really nice to play Monster Hunter with all of those load times basically elided.
Oh yeah, I can.
Yeah.
After playing it on the PC, I can tell you it is a great feeling.
I'm just not willing to start over on the PC. I spent too much time playing the the PS4 version.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah.
We've still got a bit of time left, so we can carry on. Oculus. Ari, you were banging on about this last week, I believe.
Right, so it wasn't the group that I thought would get it. I thought the people that do Trade Tool would have it, but somebody else got it first.
Yep.
Some group called XRSI Researchers. Or maybe they're researchers at XRSI? I have no idea.
It's not really clear on that.
So yeah, everybody and their mother was working for a way to break around Facebook's mandatory integration anyway.
Oh yeah, this is
So-
a gold rush.
Yeah, like nobody wants this on their head.
Yes. I know, I want to strap Facebook to my head.
Yeah, no.
No.
Zuckerberg, you may be the least evil demon we currently have to deal with in the tech industry, but you still eat babies.
You still as a person.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
still
definitely trying to conquer the soft skins.
Yes.
we know you have to go away once every 12 months to go lay your eggs in a cave somewhere. You're not human. So yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of concern though about the whole legal side of this.
I don't think people care.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
I think people are mainly they've written it off. They've written it off as, oh well, this is just effectively me buying a giant paperweight if I should ever say anything that the powers that be don't like.
Yeah.
Since you've got to keep your account in good standing.
Well, you don't even need to say anything too, because if it's a new account, it gets locked for using the Rift anyway.
Yeah, and unless you're running Tray Tool right now, that microphone can hear you.
Yeah, it's watching.
Yeah, like that thing knows when you were sleeping. It knows when you're awake. It knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for Facebook's sake.
And it knows your browser history.
Yeah, that thing's horrifying.
I really don't like this whole brave new world we've moved into here.
Yeah. Governments, get out of people's personal lives. Big tech companies, you too. Go away.
Yeah. So it's only a matter of time until Facebook pushes back. No doubt by patching their system to get rid of this workaround.
It won't matter if once it's been broken with the Oculus hardware. Ingrained in the OS is an ability to sideload content, and as long as you can plug this thing into a PC, you can jailbreak it.
Yes. Knowing Facebook, they'll probably actually get rid of that instead.
That would break the whole point of buying a Quest.
Correct.
Because they need it to be able to do that to work on PC. And their whole thing with Quest 2 has been pushing the Quest Link feature so you can use it wireless with games natively that are already installed on the headset itself, or games you have on your PC if it's plugged in through Quest Link.
Yep.
But if you take away sideloading, can't do either of those things. You would be limited to just purchasing games directly to the headset.
Yep.
Via Wi-Fi download. Nobody's going to go for that.
Nobody would buy that. They'd just jump over and buy the HTC instead.
Yeah, you cannot kill... The Facebook integration move already got people going, I'm not buying the next Oculus.
Oh, yeah. Quite a lot of people.
I love VR to death. I have fallen in love with it as a medium, but if I get another headset after this one, it is not going to be an Oculus.
Yep.
Yeah, I do wonder though if we're going to also get to a point where people are just going to sort of fall out of love with social media as it currently exists anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't feel like people care as much about Facebook as they used to.
They really don't.
I see more and more people congregating onto smaller websites, although that is mostly because more and more people that think like me get banned from the mainstream websites. So... And with election season ramping up, the number of those people is increasing by the day. So we're seeing more and more drift towards smaller community-driven sites that are not big social media platforms.
I also noticed you're seeing a lot of people who are moving towards more limited sites or simpler sites. Like sites that will just do one thing and that's it. You don't need all the timelines, all the mini games or anything like that. You just want something to chat with your friends. Then you go to WhatsApp or something. Yeah,
like I don't really feel a need for any of that stuff. I never have. I only use Twitter as a mechanism for basically taking the pulse of what people are thinking.
I thought you were about to say they're taking the piss, but yeah, all right.
Well, I don't really post enough to use it for that.
The only Twitter I consume is tweets that people post on the Donald and any tweets Vol sends me. Or people at work go up and say, hey, look at this tweet.
I'm here to tell you, I got to wade through a lot of Drek to get those couple of choice ones that I send you.
Yeah.
Right. I avoid Twitter like the plague.
And you are better off for it. But it is a service that I am willing to continue to engage with in the short term, if only to see the types of people who get banned.
And laugh at them.
No, you go figure out why they got banned and probably follow them. wherever
Yeah.
they wind
True
up.
that.
Because when they get banned, then you go to Parler and you follow them there. Like that's where you can follow people like Milo, for instance.
Oh yeah, Milo still exists, doesn't he?
Yeah, he didn't die. He just
No.
got removed from society.
Yes, he's been deleted.
He said something roundaboutly construed as bad. I forget exactly what on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I think
And
the words were, "I disagree."
No, it was
No.
he made a joke about him being molested as a child and that turning him gay, and it was tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
a bit
tongue in cheek joke
edgy.
of the sort that he always tells.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter whether it's icky or not. Why would that matter?
No, I said edgy.
Well,
But
it-
yeah.
Why?
doesn't matter.
Why? I don't think that it's edgy either, because it was clearly a tongue in cheek joke.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of whether a thing's the thing, like let's say that it's true, because the evidence is very, very strong that children are sexually plastic and abusing them will cause sexual distortions later in life. Like that's just a fact. It's a hate fact, but it's a fact. So why do you have grounds to suddenly decide, well, you can't actually float that idea?
Because the left wing and the establishment rhinos didn't like him because he was a problem. And they needed to get rid of him.
But yeah, he was an iconoclast.
Yeah.
He was not a friend of the established order, and so he had to be removed from the order. But yeah, there are places that you can find these people now, and a lot of people, for instance, are really down on Parler because Parler has strict opposition to posting pornography,
Which is fair.
and honestly, that just makes me happier to use it because I know that I'm not going to be confronted with child porn like I will on Twitter. So yeah, I don't care. They can set whichever rules they want. They're upfront about it. They don't want that content on their site. They want their site to have a different sort of timbre of conversation, and they're not so restrictive that they can't ban pornography, but they can also allow someone like Milo to speak their mind. So yeah, I think that I want to see these communities fracture. I mean, it's not a great thing, the idea that everybody can just move into their own intellectual bubble and never see any opinions outside it. But the reality is, none of those sites which purported to provide platforms have been able to resist the urge to try and turn their platform into a bubble.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just an intractable situation.
I think it's the area they live in being such a bubble to begin with.
I think that we just need to move in a direction where we accept that in reality, these online communities are bubbles. That's just it. We need to accept, well, actually, these are not platforms. They are not platforms. And not just as a revelatory thing, but as a fundamental assumption in your use of them should be, I am using this to be part of a community. So if you use Twitter, you're not using the Twitter microblogging platform. You are joining the Twitter community. You just have to accept that that's the reality that you live in. It's not a case of you are using a service. It is a case of you joining a particular community, because Twitter does actively cultivate a particular community. There's no question about it. If you look at the pattern of the people who can and can't post, the things that are and are not allowed to be said, it is a community with particularity to it.
Even
that's the way it's got to go. You can't do platforms anymore. It's not a thing. People have shown that they're incapable of living up to their responsibilities of maintaining a platform.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it in those terms enough to give you a coherent agree or disagree. But but yeah, I do wish we could go back to the wild, wild west of the internet days, where everybody was just posting their mind, and stuff would eventually get curated in small not in small forums or whatever, to fall into one line of thought. But for the most part, it was the wild, wild west. And everybody said just whatever the heck they wanted.
But everybody did accept individual places as communities. Like way back in the day, when it was Usenet, the Usenet community was a particular thing. Back when people used IRC as a major form of communication, they were all organized around servers which were particular communities. Nobody was under the illusion that there was a grand structure which was IRC and that everybody was in the same sort of arena with each other. No, people carved out their particular servers, their particular interests, and associated with particular communities. It was never the assumption that it had to be a neutral platform, because if you want a neutral platform, well, there were other arenas for that, such as, you know, the real world before everything became about surveillance culture and cancel culture.
Yeah. I think VTW might have had the last IRC chat that was of relevance on the internet until it went poof. They might still have it for all I know. I haven't checked the main site in forever.
Maybe.
I don't really know about that. In any case, it probably still exists. A lot of people have archived material that is distributed via IRC channels. I'm not quite sure why, but that is the way a lot of old things are done. It's taken a very, very long time to be replaced by things like large batch torrents and that sort of thing, which would be the natural successor to distributing that sort of material. But it doesn't seem to have just happened. So there's still a few of those old IRC channels floating around.
I see.
All right. So what else do we have? We have people of questionable motivations, I guess, have been pre-ordering the PS5.
Yeah, like, so this sort of caught my eye in that the pre-orders for the PS5 are sky high.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely redonkulous. And I can't work out why. Like, this was, I didn't actually think that this was necessarily a news article, but it was something that I thought was curious, because it is my opinion that none of the next gen consoles have really managed to sell themselves, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. That was my feeling on the matter. And yet we're seeing record pre-ordering.
So stop pre-ordering stuff, people.
The thing I think we often forget, or we may know in the back of our heads, but don't consciously think about it all the time, is we are not the primary purchaser of home consoles anymore. Our demographic, our age bracket, our level of gameplay where we play games at, that is not the normal customer anymore. The normal customer is the normie who gets a PS4 because he wants to play some Vigil once in a while and may buy the next Assassin's Creed or something when it comes out because he remembers liking that franchise once.
This is not like mid-cycle or anything like that. This is early adopter. And these things are not cheap by any stretch of the imagination.
So
that's why this is sort of like early adoption of a totally unproven product at a ridiculously high barrier to entry price. Why? Why is that a good value proposition? Why do people do that calculation?
I guess if we take these numbers as true and not inflated somehow, or have people pre-ordering just to inflate the numbers, I guess we could say it's I guess pre-ordering has just become more accepted these days.
It really
maybe
should, though. Yeah.
I don't know what pre-order numbers are like because companies aren't required to reveal their digital sales, and most pre-orders come in the form of digital sales these days.
I don't like that much either. I don't like that whole the whole captive market thing that's going on, particularly with things like the PlayStation Store, where, you know, you go on there and you pay what they ask, which is usually staggering.
Yeah.
See my experience with Cold Steel 4 back in my week.
Why did you choose that? Is there no Steam version?
The PC version won't be out for many months.
How many months is many? Is that like, are we talking like 12 or are we talking more?
We're talking like at least 6.
Right.
Yeesh.
But yeah, it's I don't like it. It's just the way things are. And for gamers, I really feel like, well, both for hardcore and casual gamers, I feel like the better value proposition is still being offered by Xbox, because Xbox doesn't actually ask you to participate in the Xbox in any way. So, segueing from this into the topic I posted, I can't find it now. It was a green thumbnail. Here we go. So, Microsoft have revived their Stream Stick project that was killed in like 2016 or something.
Mm.
And they're hinting that they're going to revive this, and basically you can just plug a dongle into your television and then use the xCloud to stream games. But while this is not necessarily a revolutionary idea, there are two facets to this. Number one, this would completely bury Stadia.
Oh, completely.
Instantly. Like Stadia would cease to be a proposition. It would end up in the Google graveyard.
To be fair, Stadia is very industriously digging their own hole.
Oh yeah, they're artisans at digging graves at this point. But
well, they're artisans at digging their own grave anyway.
Well, yeah.
But
I mean, if you're going to spend a lot of time in it, you might as well make sure it's comfy. But not only would it completely bury Stadia, but look at what they've already got with their Game Pass, and now couple that to streaming.
Yeah, as far as just value goes, their Game Pass is ridiculously good.
So if you've got Game Pass already set up, that content distribution method already set up, and then you add a streaming stick as part of your sort of gaming ecosystem, and you've also got, control over the Windows platform effectively, plus you've got your two entries in the console market, your budget one and your full scale one. Honestly, it looks like they're positioned to do a very strong takeover of a large portion of the market there, because you aren't at any point required to engage with the whole ecosystem at once. You don't have to buy into everything, but as much as you want to buy into, you've got access to a humongous library there. The only weakness that their plan has is their chronic lack of killer apps. They don't have those gigantic exclusives. They don't have like the Ratchet and Clank, and they don't have the God of War, and they don't have all those ultra big titles. But I mean, there is a section of the gaming population that just doesn't really care that much for that, and would be quite happy just to have limitless interesting things to play on tap.
Yep.
That seems to be more or less what Xbox is planning to supply. Now, as far as I'm concerned, all I'm interested in is what content comes out of Japan that I want to play, since I don't play that many Western games generally. And by the time I do play them, they're on every platform imaginable. So that's not really an issue for me. But as far as if they have a good slice of JRPGs and other interesting things coming out of Japan like that, I'll drop PlayStation like a hot rock, because I don't want to pay $100 for each one of those, which is what they'll ask me for, or more. In a lot of cases, it's been more over this past generation. I just don't want to do that. And I like the technology that the PS5 has, and I like there are a lot of little things I like about the way they've designed it and their design philosophy behind it, other than the appearance, which I think is heinous. It's just it doesn't offer enough, and I can't see a reason to buy the Xbox console either, because you don't seem to need one.
Oh my god!
Why not just step back into the PC for a generation? It doesn't really seem like there is anything worth pursuing in the console market, and yet they're both booming. Do we still have everybody?
You do. Yeah. I just flipped on the interior stream so you guys could actually see this thing I found in the game. Would you like a Ugandan Knuckles spring rocker?
What?
It exists in this game. I'm going to place it. Hang on. I know this is supposed to be... I was kind of building a frat house here, but now it's got a ball pit and a Ugandan Knuckles bouncy thing.
I feel like the appropriate thing to say is, I've only got one thing to say about the kids that are raised on that crap. Held back.
Repeat the third grade.
Oh,
standardized test scores.
All right. Where were we before we got distracted by that nonsense?
We're talking about the Xbox ecosystem and the relative competitiveness of various things in that market. Honestly, I don't see a good value proposition from either console, and they're selling like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Xbox, because you just don't need an Xbox. If you've got a PC, why get an Xbox? You've already got one.
If your PC is halfway decent, you don't need an Xbox.
And in the case of the PS4, it's like it's a walled garden with walls so high it may as well be a prison.
Yep.
So unless they really secure an absolute juggernaut of a product or service, it's just not that great. Like the thing is, I'm still kind of tempted by the PS5 by default, and that's sort of the only thing that I can think of that explains the phenomenon of massive pre-orders, because I kind of just want to have it type of thing, and it's a mild impulse. It's not something that's controlling my buying habits, but I can still feel it there scratching at the back of my mind that it would be neat to have this nice fancy thing. And they've got this weird service where you've got to apply online to get an adapter for your PSVR sent to you in the mail, which is weird, but okay, whatever works. I need to disconnect from the stream. It's really distracting me more than actually playing a video game. Actually distracts me.
All right, I'll turn that off now. All right. Oh shit! I think Discord's just exploded again because it didn't like that. Okay. Okay, so Discord seems intent on trying to kill me today.
Yeah, Fern exploded for a little bit. That's okay. We're approaching end of showtime anyway, so we should probably start wrapping up.
We should.
Wind up so Fern can get his self back into the car for another 10-hour shift or whatever. But yeah, so finishing up what I was saying, I still feel that impulse to get the new hotness, and it's not like Sony doesn't have a few bits and pieces in their bag of tricks, like their massive, basically starter package of games from this generation that we're just coming to the close of now. There's a lot of hot ticket items in there, and they are asking for like $10 for like a huge number of top-notch games from the past generation, and that would be a real easy way to get yourself started if you didn't have much of the games library to begin with. And presumably most of the extant PS Plus games library will carry over. So yeah, it's sort of, there's an impulse, I have an impulse to try and continue that continuity, I guess, with the previous generation, but the actual hook isn't there. The thing that will make me pull the trigger isn't there. And I'm not quite sure what it would be that will do that. Unless it's like, you know, a next-gen Fate game, which would just make me go out and place a pre-order right now. But, yeah, under normal circumstances, I don't see it.
Yeah, like, Demon's Souls looks really good on the PS5, but that's not enough.
Yeah, that by itself doesn't really, to me, doesn't constitute a killer app. Like, it looks really awesome, but...
I mean, that's a scale tipper, but that's not something that sells it to me.
Unless the reason you play games is those From Software pros.
Yeah.
But anyway, we should start wrapping up.
Yeah, I can hear the doggos. They're coming.
They
It's
know.
starting to be doggo time.
All right. Closing comments go.
I don't want to adult anymore. The obligatory comment.
Yeah.
Also,
I
that's
gotta
the
agree with that
procedural
one.
crash. So everything seems to be breaking today. That's fine.
That's because that springy thingy was cursed.
I think it was.
It knew the way to shut down all your applications.
It do know the way.
So, yeah. I don't know how I'm going to play games with a turbo button after playing the Cold Steel games. I always think this to myself whenever I play a Trails game.
You gotta have that.
Just they got the turbo button. The turbo button makes things so much more doable if you got a job.
Yeah.
I sort of resent. I resent the job though. I still resent the job for forcing me to do such a cursed thing as pervert the game by using a turbo button.
Yeah.
To be fair, the environment for the Cold Steel games are absolutely ginormous and way bigger than they need to be. So the turbo button comes in handy when you're just trying to cross the field. Okay.
Take us out.
All right, folks. I think we're done. We will see y'all next week. Sayonara. Bye-bye.